Yo, what's going on, everybody? GZTV back with another video, and as you know, we've been watching The Walking Dead. We are kind of getting close to ending Season 3. We are on Season 3, Episode 13 right now. That is what we're going to talk about today. Arrow in the Doorpost. This is a really interesting episode, and something I didn't really expect out of this series, to dedicate a whole episode to a confrontation between the governor and Rick, and them trying to negotiate. But given that it's 11 seasons, of course, this show takes its time, so it's kind of a good thing. You know, you get more television, that's cool. In an attempt to stop further bloodshed, Rick meets and negotiates with the governor in a feed store, who shows himself to be unarmed but secretly has a pistol taped underneath the table. We knew it was all too true. It's all too good to be true for a guy like the governor to be sitting there in peace, sitting there unarmed with no intent of killing Rick. But obviously, it's a very tense moment because you know at any moment this governor could just, you know what I mean? Like, any moment. So it was obviously a pretty intense episode. I mean, it was very drawn out, a very slow-burning episode, but I think it served a pretty good purpose here. But yeah, both men have brought their respective support as outside Daryl and Herschel meet with Martinez and Milton, kind of the first time these characters have met. You know, Herschel's kind of like the medical guy. Him and Milton kind of connect in this episode because they play kind of the same role. They're like good advisors. They're like the brains of the system. And same with Martinez and Daryl. They're like the primary henchmen of the group. So it's really cool to see that these four characters came together, found something they related to, and had more chemistry than the governor and Rick frankly ever will. It's really interesting stuff there. The initial hostile groups begin to socialize with each other as Daryl and Martinez kill walkers together. And Milton examines Herschel's leg, obviously interested in like human anatomy and like the health and the biological aspects of this injury, him getting bit, him cutting, like how high above the bite. You know, Milton's kind of a nerd, but you definitely appreciate what he does for the governor in this one, because yeah, there'd be a lot of irrational decisions by the governor, which he still makes very irrational decisions. He's not one of my favorite characters. He's supposed to be the antagonist, so the show does a good job of painting that way, but you know. Yeah, having apparently brokered the summit, Andrea enters the barn to join the discussion to kind of stir up some ideas, kind of make sure things are going by smoothly, and supervises conversation. Rick reveals his plan of a clear territorial division with the river as a border, but the governor refuses and is present only to accept the surrender of Rick's group. The only way he's going to leave them alone, the only way this conflict will be resolved is if Rick's group surrenders. And that's not really realistic. You know, we know who Rick is. He's not going to be a guy to surrender to anything, right? So yeah, that's kind of the reality of this situation. I think it's a very reasonable plan for Rick. I mean, obviously there's a lot more people in the governor's camp than there's Rick's, but still, creating territories, creating barriers and boundaries so no one has to deal with each other is a great solution to a problem that's been unresolved for the whole season. The governor dismisses Andrea, as does Rick, so they can talk further and kind of get into the deep stuff, like the good stuff, the specifics, and kind of get personal in their discussions. Outside, Herschel confirms to Andrea that the governor abused Maggie before offering her the chance to come back to their group, though it will mean permanently. So yeah, Herschel kind of reveals the evils. You know, Andrea was obviously aware of some of the evils that the governor committed, but obviously they were so in love that she just shoved that shit to the side. And now that the governor's attacking people of her former group, and he pretty much raped this girl, almost like borderline raped Maggie, you know, she's kind of losing respect for him, and kind of, you know, Herschel's kind of trying to persuade her to go on their side, which is good. Back at the prison, Merle wants revenge and is fearful for his brother. He wants to go to the negotiating area and make sure his brother's alright. Obviously, his brother's just fine. He's actually bonding with Martinez in the moment, so nothing Merle realistically has to worry about. But as a brother, he kind of feels like a bitch just staying behind and watching his brother go through things like this. He argues to preemptively attack the governor at the meeting, but the others are committed to obeying Rick's orders and stay put, fearful of potential casualties. We don't want to make this worse than it is. We don't want to rub salt in the wound. We'll let them take care of their business, and we can hold it down in the prison, which is probably reasonable. But, you know, Merle just doesn't like Rick, and he doesn't go along with what he says. In the meeting, the governor blames Merle for his atrocities. Like, Merle is like the sole component, the sole, what do you call that? Catalyst of his evils. He reveals that he has surveillance on Rick's group and warns that Woodbury has superior manpower and firepower. Now, the manpower is a bunch of kids and fucking women walking around and maybe a group of like 5 to 10 henchmen. Like, come on now. You guys have already gotten terrorized. Think about it. You know, this group of like 5 or 6 that went to Woodbury, it wasn't even all their people. They killed like fucking 30 or 40 of your people. So I don't know if that was a really logical statement by the governor there. Eventually, the governor offers whiskey and relates a sympathetic story about his wife's death, to which Rick drinks. He's trying to get Rick on the soft side. He's trying to kind of reel him in so he can go in for the kill, I suppose. Kind of manipulating him here. However, Rick expresses some skepticism, though the governor then reveals one final offer. Rick must hand over Michonne or have his whole group annihilated. Now, we know that Michonne doesn't trust the governor, doesn't like the governor, so I don't know why the hell he's even offering this. I don't know, it's really interesting. Obviously, she's a great fighter, and she's one of the most prized fighters out of both the groups. Like, she's one tough motherfucker, like, let's be honest. But I think she likes Rick's group more, and Rick and them have gotten accustomed to her and started to get a liking of her, so... yeah, the governor gives him 2 days to decide and meet, so that's probably where we're going to be left off for the next episode. Both groups depart after the meeting, and though reluctant, Andrea chooses to go with the governor and his group, once again betraying Rick and his camp, which sucks. I really wanted to see Andrea return to this group, because obviously this is the group we're rooting for. It's the group that we've been riding along with all along, and then they're faced with another human threat, interestingly, which I don't know why this started even in the fucking first place. We're talking about humans against humans when there's like millions of zombies they have to go through. Yeah, the governor returns to Woodbury and secretly orders Martinez to set an ambush at the feed store to bring Michonne back alive and to kill Rick and any of his people who show up to the meeting. So Martinez kind of has this weight on his shoulders to do all of these things. Is Martinez really the guy for that? I mean, I guess he doesn't have Merle, like his former lieutenant or whatever, but I don't know. I don't know if Martinez is really capable of doing this. You know, again, the irrational decisions and the irrational proposals from the governor kind of seeping through the situation. Milton takes exception to the ruthlessness of the plan, but does not press the issue, while the governor keeps the agreement terms from Andrea. Now, Milton knows, obviously he's a very smart guy, this is not a good idea, but he holds back. He's like, you know what, the governor's just going to make the decisions on this one. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get killed or anything, so yeah. At the prison, Rick tells the group that the governor wants them all dead and that they are going to war. Kind of putting fear into his people. Not the best approach from Rick here, but it's something he had to do. Kind of rip the band-aid off. He privately confides to Herschel the true terms of the agreement, but while knowing the governor would kill them all anyway, he must consider the possibility it would not happen, and if safety for the prison can be guaranteed in exchange for one member. So he knows even if they give up Michonne, that the group is still going to be in danger just because of the hatred that the governor has after what they did to Woodbury. So that's kind of what we're left off with. I'm sure towards the end of the season, like the 2 days are going to pass, they're going to meet up, we're going to have like the final battle, you know. It's going to be a good one, so I can't wait. A lot of good dialogue here. The AV Club gave it a B. It's better than the 2 episodes before Clear, and it brings Rick and the governor together for their first and probably last face-to-face conversation. In a sense, this is a different kind of stalling, but it's a much more interesting way to hold off a big battle than to just have people wandering around aimlessly with occasional yelling, which I know is how this series has kind of approached that. An 8 out of 10 on IGN. I like the interactions between Rick and the governor. The monologue by David Morrissey was great, so yeah, not a bad episode at all. That's probably going to be it for the videos today. I'm probably going to stream a grinding stream Madden on Twitch, so check that out. GZTV Live on Twitch, all lowercase there. But anyways, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. As always, it has been GZTV. Reviewing your favorite TV shows. We're obviously done with Dahmer, so now we're probably just going to do Better Call Saul and Walking Dead back and forth, and maybe 2 or 3 days a week you'll have a movie review. I don't really have any ideas for movies just yet, but they'll come to me. I mean, I have until tomorrow to figure out what movie I'll watch, but I might watch some MLB postseason as well. So yeah,